to migrate customers, we know who to call. So next up, folks, we have Alex Wilson from Yubico. And I think we're talking about passwordless authentication, Alex.
We certainly are.
Welcome.
Speaker is on. There we go. We're all good.
Good for you, my friend.
Push the right-hand button.
Arrow.
Thank you for the advice. I'll try and not muck it up. Timer, good. I have a Santa beard now. I have grandchildren, so they said, Santa beard looks good. Let's do that. So thank you once again for being here, second year, presenting. Specifically, I'm going to talk about human element within authentication. And I spend a lot of time in front of customers who, from a technology perspective, tell me that their users are kind of stupid, or their users are not technology people, or their users wouldn't accept new technology and it would get in the way of what they're trying to do, whether driving a truck, selling groceries, delivering postal letters, all of those things. So this presentation is focusing on the human elements within authentication to allow them to move forward with increased security, to meet the challenges we have, but also to deliver that better identity experience, identity validation, verification, and then authentication post. And really it's trying to say that there are human elements that we can lever, we can use, that makes things better, and try and not be scared about them. So that was the context of the presentation, capturing the human element. We'll move quickly through the first slides. If you don't know who Yubico is or YubiKey, please come talk to us. Our goal is to make the internet safer. That is a very lofty goal. And we're doing it, we've been doing it over the past 14 years. The protocol that people today now talk about, Passkey, that is the protocol that we invented. If you wanted to learn the history, we can get to that, but in essence, we sell a key. This is not about selling the key today. You kind of know this. We are in this situation now, and certainly Wake Up Call a number of years ago that said, yes, there is a cybersecurity problem. People in IT knew it forever. I was talking about identity management in 2000 when I was implementing Novell directory services. We're still talking about some of the same challenges today. But the bigger problem is the cost and the reputational damage and the regulation that comes on down from that problem that we have. Okay, the human element, which is really what I wanted to focus on. So within the statistics, lies statistics, the Verizon data breach report is kind of the one that, whichever one shows the best light or is the most current, we go to, as long as it's current. Some people talk about the 81% number, which is, hey, all data breaches start with some kind of credential theft, credential stuffing, those type of things, which then result in malware, which then results in ransomware, all of those things. What we focused on this talk is more about, of those data breaches, credential stuffing, a lot of it's to do with the human being fooled into giving up the credentials. Why? That becomes interesting. Why did they give it up? Well, they're not technologists. Most of the people that we look after are not technologists. They don't understand the bits and the bytes. They just think that, hey, that thing that's asking me to do something is getting in the way of me wanting to do the real job. I want to order that kettle. I want to get a magazine. Why have I got to authenticate? Why do I have to remember a password? So the human element is where the malicious person is attacking. That comes out in the results. From a business perspective, what does that also cause? And I've seen this with, we were at the Gartner Summit, SRM Summit a few weeks ago, and people were, two customers came up. Our insurance premiums have gone up for cyber insurance because we're reliant on not the highest level of authentication or not the highest level of firewall or not. So cyber insurance are increasing their premiums. So how can we drive that down? Policymakers are bringing to the fore slowly within Australia, different cybersecurity regimes. Zero trust, it's a new term for Australia. Within the broader sense, globally, America and others have been talking about zero trust for some time, but generally within the ASD or the ACSC, the cybersecurity community, zero trust was talked but was not written down in any of the security policies, not within the Essential 8. I think until last November it was finally added. Okay. There has been an uplift over the years with the Essential 8. I focus on authentication, which is tied to identity, because every user is a customer of mine because they've got a username and password. But there's definitely been a drive and an uplift over a time frame, which I'll cover in a moment. And then there is the Security of Critical Infrastructure Act, which is being driven, and most recently asking for submissions to improve the security of the nation. Yubico has certainly contributed towards that. And generally the advice we've given is, hey, make people follow the Essential 8. It's good stuff. Why don't you mandate it? Unlike in other countries where they mandate things, we kind of go, nah, it's okay. So over the timeline of how we got to today, within authentication, within the identity space, the wake-up call for North America, or the US specifically, was the SolarWinds or Colonial Pipeline attacks, where you couldn't deliver, the trucks couldn't deliver the fuel to run engines or run generators, or you couldn't get petrol into things. So there was a critical infrastructure problem. They mandated at that point a number of things. One of the things was, hey, multi-factor authentication. The human who's being attacked, we need to make it better, make it stronger. They very quickly realized in 2022 that telling people to use MFA, they said, yeah, we've got the software authenticator, we're good. Nah, not good. It's not phishing resistant. So they then increased the concept of phishing resistance and said, hey, why are these people still getting attacked? Phishing resistant. Moving forward, jumping to Q4 2022 within our remit, there was some clarity around what phishing resistance is, which is the common attack vector for stealing credentials from users. And the ACSC added phishing resistant as a requirement if you want to get to level 3. Phishing resistant is what you need to be at. And then most recently, as of last November, they included it into the level 2. They not only included it, they said they removed others. So they removed others from that, but I'll talk about that. So you can see these things coming. Policymakers are slowly rotating the big engine in the back end, and we, as technologists for our organizations, need to try and adopt and move forward with that. This may look slightly different from one that was shown earlier. This doesn't bend the truth. So phishing resistant is tied to a hardware key, generally. If you can copy a private key, then yeah, there's some, it's good for convenience, less for security. However, maturity level 2, maturity level 3, for those organizations that should adopt this, phishing resistant capability is delivered from a specific authentication protocol, not a product. I sell the product, but ask to another 15 vendors. It doesn't matter. It is the protocol that provides the capability for phishing resistant. Software authenticators, one-time passwords, passphrases, they are not in level 2 or level 3. Similarly, the mygov.com, or mygov, whatever it is, I'm on mygov, they've announced that they are adding passkey support for that platform heading forward. And you'll have seen the adverts recently over the past few weeks, for those that watch television. MFA, don't ignore the prompt. Set an MFA, or you're going to lose money, or you're going to lose something. So there is a drive to increase our awareness, but remembering that we are technologists, we get it. 90% of everyone else generally does not. So very briefly, what is phishing-resistant MFA? And focusing on the human element. It is a possession-based technology. It's not something that's generally on a device somewhere else. It's something I carry. It's something I have. How is that relevant to human element? You guys already have house keys. You have car keys. You have other keys for lockers. If you're protecting something of value, you don't just leave it around. You don't leave it on a computer in the office somewhere. You generally carry that thing of value that unlocks the thing that you have. Possession-based, something I have, I know I have that thing. That's good. So private keys are securely stored in something I have. The other point here within this protocol, not the product, the protocol, is user intent. The FIDO protocols, unlike the smart card or PIV protocol, includes the user in the authentication. The user must do a gesture, a touch, a biometric, or something to unlock that thing. And that is important. We'll talk a bit more about that. But this gives us phishing resistant, also some very good cryptography in the back end. So the human elements in modern authentication, and this brings us to some of the concepts we need to think about if we want to increase security. What are the barriers for our users adopting it? And they are the identity. They are the ones who get access to everything within the organization. Presence. A human has to be in the score. And if I have something, I'm present within that authentication. If that authentication can occur without me being there, what's the point? It's of no use. So presence, the user being present and educating. Vigilant is a relative term. Traditional phishing attacks occur because the user thinks that the website they're on is a good website. It's my website. It says mywebsite.com, and I trust that, and I've registered on that. But digitally, it's not that website, and it is a phishing website. So being vigilant, the concept here is your credit card. If you take your credit card and use it with MasterCard or Visa, you're kind of roughly, you're in a store, you've got the product, and you're going, okay, I will give them money, and I will move on. So there's still vigilance there. You may not do it on a street vendor. You'll do it within some positive area. And some trust. You trust the brands that you're utilizing. So is it from a trusted source? MasterCard, Visa, yes. Others, maybe not. Knowledge and familiarity of keys or of something I possess. I'm familiar with a house key, so probably from when you were 8 years old, you may have been given a key to open your front door as you go to school. Nowadays, you've got a mobile, maybe at that age, I'm not sure. You're familiar with the concept of having access to multiple keys. Everyone here who drives a car has more than one key. Everyone who has a house or an apartment, unless you use a mobile for everything, good for you. If you lose the mobile, I hope you do well. But generally, the concept of two keys, of having two accesses, two ways to get into the same system, is a common thing that we're used to. We just haven't tied it to authentication. Now, I'm not saying you need two keys. No, you need two methods to authenticate that are independent of each other. How do you translate that to a user? You say, well, you've got two car keys, haven't you? No, I haven't. I've only got one. Hang on, where's the other one? Oh, yeah, that's in my drawer somewhere. You have. So tying a familiar concept that people are not technologists to this type of technology can be done. Simplicity is key. These things are not scary. These things have been, the FIDO protocol specifically has been designed with simplicity in mind. first and foremost, as an authentication protocol. So you stick the key in, you unlock it, you walk through the door. I possess the key, which is good. I have the key in my pocket, means it's kind of secure, and I get in there. If I want to unlock the key in a digital sense, I may have a PIN or a biometric. Moving to the biometric, I think there has been huge strides with Apple and Google on mobile devices of allowing people to use touch and then use face. This can be leveraged into our world, into the corporate world. Whether we use that as trusted signals, the secure element on the mobile phone is the same secure element that I have on a YubiKey, is the same secure element you have in the laptop nowadays. So it's the technology is there. The user doesn't need to know. They just need to know that, oh, I can use biometric. I can use phishing resistant. And it's pretty simple. Touch, user intent. Biometric is just one of them. Touch is another. Voice is another. Gesture is another. These are all available within this technology to utilize today. From a timeline perspective, I think passkeys is definitely where we are going. Passkey is the new password. You know, black is the new white, whatever it is. From a history perspective, this has been around, this phishing-resistant technology has been around for 10 years. Traditionally, just Google, Yubico. Microsoft drove the adoption from 18 and 19 forward. So the big boys got it done. Now everyone else is implementing, or it can get confusing for users. They say, oh, use a passkey, register a passkey. Yep, that is a FIDO credential, whether it's on a physical device, whether it's copyable, whatever. And there's different ways of using it. The actual technical term is device bound, which means it's on a single device and only, and it cannot be exported. The other term is syncable. Is that correct? Just yeah, syncable. So you got the two choices. Syncable means convenience. Device bound means security. Both phishing resistant capabilities to us. Yeah, one better than the other, but still very good. So passkeys is the new term. There's lots of other technical terms behind it that people just have no idea what that means. But if you're talking to customers, talking to users, non-technical users, passkeys is the word that we're using going forward. I wanted to use one explicit use case around human elements within a large-scale deployment. For a number of years, Australia Post has been going through a technology uplift and security uplift, and they wanted to do authentication better than they were doing, so which is good. At scale, 25, 30,000 users across 3,500 Australia Post outlets. Deploying hardware as well. Once we got to the authentication piece, they wanted to use, the back end was Entra, it was called Azure at that point, but the back end was Entra. And if you imagine the shared workstation, the customer facing, people coming up wanting to authenticate quickly, easily from one terminal to another, ask that individual user. So the first thing they says is, okay, how do we get something in their hands? We're not going to use username and password because that's not secure. Can't do mobile phones because unionized, and we're not paying for the phones. All of these other reasons. So we had to physically do something. So they already have a badge. So let's put a YubiKey on, or let's put a key on the badge. Sorry, I said my name's product. Could have been any product because it's an industry standard. Yeah, many companies make these. We put the key on the badge. Okay, how are they going to? Are we going to stick it in the side? No, the monitor itself didn't have USB ports. And if you do your passport in the post office, or if you do your bills, or if you do whatever, they have like 10 devices plugged into each one of these things. So all the USB ports are plugged out to the max. So luckily we found an NFC device embedded in the bezel on the top left-hand side. Took a while to figure where it was because it was hidden. There was no mark on the bezel, but we figured it out. So the user intent picks up the key, touches the key, enters a PIN. Oh, what's a PIN? I don't know what a PIN is. Hang on, take your credit card out. How do you use that? Oh, I've got a PIN. Oh, okay, there's a PIN. Oh, should I set it the same? It's not my business, it's your business. It's a PIN means personal number. Who in here was the last time you changed your PIN on your credit card? Anybody? Yeah, it's fine, you get a new PIN. Sometimes you have to, very rare. PIN is good, so educating users on, oh, but that's a corporate controlled device. No, it's not. The PIN is on the key. You have the key, the PIN is only on the key. That is the way the protocol has been devised to make it easy for the user trust. So tap the key, enter a PIN, tap the key, and you're in. Pure browser, a bunch of apps, you go and get a new passport, whatever you want. So they're about 80% through in that deployment. One of the user elements, they spent a bit of time. They said, oh, well, we can only afford one key. Okay, use another credential through some other technology. Yeah, okay. So they spent a lot of time educating the user through their standard learning management system, videos. This is how you do this. This is how you do this. Okay. But they had to build another module for their second, because Entra forces you to have two. You must have two credentials. As the rollout has continued, they figured out it would have been cheaper just to get a second key, that whole effort and everything else. But these are lessons learned. Two credentials, not two keys. You don't need two keys. You need two credentials with equal capability of authenticating with the same level of security. And you can do that without having two keys. But we make money selling keys, so I'd rather you had 6 keys. So human element. It takes a bit of influencing to educate people that the things that the non-technical people have used day to day can be leveraged for authentication today, and that's where we're going. You've been using passwords, it's now called a passkey. You can use biometrics on your phone, we can use biometrics or touch on your authentication for corporate. The user benefits are clear within the Australian Post concept. There are no passwords, no resets, no support staff to do that. They're certainly supporting the rollout, which is a bit of an uplift. But once that dies down, when's the next password reset? Oh, there isn't one. That's a benefit. And make it easy and repeatable. This is an industry standard. This phishing-resistant capability encompasses human elements.
Thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you very much. Was